Hey everybody! Now that I've finished all of my main outlines, I'm going to want to clean them up and make sure they all connect to each other, because you can probably notice that some of them don't. And a good way for me to see that without having my image in the background is by removing that image that I don't really need anymore, and grouping together what I already have. So as you'll be able to see, I have a ton of streamer layers. I'm going to scroll all the way down and I'm going to see my clip art at the bottom. I'll go ahead and unlock that and make it go away. Now I'll be able to see just the outlines of my drawing. Now, to make something like the pixel fill tool work, things need to be completely contained. It's almost like dumping, a bucket of paint into an area. If that area is contained, the paint will stay inside. But if there's any holes or breaks, it'll flood out into other areas as well. So what I need to do now, I can even test it right now. I can click Pixel Fill. I already have something selected that I'll talk to you guys about later. If the area is nice and contained, I'll be able to fill that in, create some really nice values in there, and have a good color. If the area is not contained, what's going to happen when I go to create a pixel fill is it will fill everything. So I have to make sure that I don't have those areas in my drawing. Go ahead and undo that and just kind of refine things a little bit. To do that, I'm going to use my zoom tool, come in pretty close. I'll be able to move my canvas around, and areas that I see not connecting, I can grab my streamer tool again, just go in and fix those up. It's a lot easier to see now that I don't have my other drawing behind it. Now that I've gone in and fixed up all my lines, I have the option to use the Pixel Fill tool, and that will fill large areas of color for me pretty quickly. I can still refine and add details later, however, this is going to create a really neat and even look for my drawing. If I click on the Fill tool, you might notice that it comes in first as Vector Fill. Vector Fill is something pretty cool that we're going to use in our background that we'll talk about later, but we're going to use Pixel Fill for now. I can choose to fill my area in a solid color, so if I have a color that I love, I click on that, and I can fill that in a nice solid color pretty quickly. I can also choose to create a gradient here. If I click on my fill tool, you'll see that I have both a linear and a radial option, and you can see the color changing as I click through. So I had already selected my color earlier, so I was already in here. So when I clicked linear, you can see it going from dark to light, and when I clicked radial, you can see it doing the same thing. I can continue through my picture, referencing my image, and looking through what I've created. The next thing I'm going to do is just talk about adding a few more colors. If you don't see a color here that you can use, I'm looking at all these colors and I don't see something that I love for a tree. I feel like that's a little light to me. So what I'm going to need to do is change it. I can move down, I can change my brown, make it a little bit darker. I can look at options I may have in my different fills here, but I think I'm going to stick with my solid color for now. I'm going to drop it in, and now that color's in my tree. I can continue moving through my image, continue adding my colors in the form of either the pixel fills. All right, now that I went ahead and filled in all of my color, I'm going to talk a little bit about the vector fill. What I went ahead and did was already selected vector fill. Remember, we were in pixel fill before. Now we're going to go into vector fill, and we're going to look at all the different options we have here. I'm thinking of my sky, what I want to create. I selected this sort of greasy sunrise here with these really intense oranges that I thought would complement a lot of the blue that I had in my picture really well. When you're using vector fill, I'm in radial right now. You have linear and regular black color options as well. But I'm going to kick into radial again. I'm going to click on my screen and drag. I'm going to be able to create this really nice light area. I can move around, I can click and drag in different spaces, so I can decide where I sort of want that bright spot to go, and you can see that gradation kind of pulling out. I can, continue to move, try it over in different places, but I think I like where I had it originally. Let's bring it back there. Alright, after I'm done, I'm going to hit finish editing. Now, the reason I was able to add that in there, I'm just going to show you that right now, was, it's going to make me undo all of those steps that I demoed. You can see these sort of weird squares back here. That means that there's nothing drawn there on the canvas. It's totally transparent. So anything else that would appear transparent on my screen, my vector fill is going to affect. So bring that down. And I have that nice vector fill on my screen now. The next thing I want to talk about is adding a little bit more detail to the layers I already have. I can use my select tool. Say I wanted to add just some of the white against the edge of my water, but I don't want it to get it anywhere else. What's cool about the tools that we have available to us in here is that you're able to draw on a layer. So I can use my select tool, click on that blue. I can go into my paint tools, I can find my paintbrush, and I have an option that says Paint into Layer, and I'm going to click on that. What that's going to do is allow me to only paint on the layer that I'm working in. So say I wanted to grab a nice really light blue over here. Now when I go to paint, it'll just paint on that blue layer that I've selected. So you can see, even though I promise I'm exiting that layer too, I'm just painting on that blue layer. So as I go to add to this layer, I'm only going to be able to adjust or add things to what I've already created here. You can see that I tried to add outside of it, but because I'm using paint into layer, it's only going to paint on that layer that I already have blue. Now, if for some reason I don't like what I've done here, I can always undo it. Again, over with my undo tool up here, I can move through that. I can also redo if I decided that I like it. I can do that paint into layer with any of my layers. Every single fill that you created, every single pixel fill you created, becomes its own separate layer. So I can do that draw into layer technique with really anything you see here. So I'm going to grab my paintbrush. I still have paint into layer. Maybe I'm going to use that same color actually, and I'm going to create some more detail in the mountaintop that we see here. So I'm going to get more snow kind of going on here, and kind of draw and select different highlight areas. All right, everybody, reach out if you have any questions, and I hope you have a good day.